Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about paper 2, the unseen paper that you will be doing tomorrow. Now this is not any new information, it's simply just a recap of what's already there, just so you can hear my wonderful voice, but also, more importantly, just reassure yourself about what it is you need to do tomorrow, okay? So nothing new here. This is not something you need to revise or worry about. It's just the same information. I'm just presenting it in a different way so you can just easily click this, listen to it, and just reassure yourself that you're doing the right thing in the exam. Okay? So let's go through the basics of the exam, which I'm sure you are aware of already. You have 1 hour, 15 minutes for this, and you only write one response. So that's giving you a little bit more time than it does for the paper 3 text. Of course, you will have all your extra time and you'll have all your accommodations as usual. If there's anything up with that or you're not getting something you think you should, you need to raise it with the invigilators there. The component carries 25% of your final grades. We've already got 50% with your coursework. There's this, and then there is paper 3, which also carries 25%. You will answer one question from the 2. There will be one poetry question and there will be one prose question, okay? We're going to do the prose. That's the normal writing, the story, in other words, all right? Not the poetry. Each question asks candidates for a critical commentary of unseen writing, which is printed on the paper. The question is based on a passage of prose, which is normally an extract from a short story or a novel, and the other one is based on a poem. Of course, we are doing the prose, all right? That's right, circled. There are no set texts for this paper, so you can't revise that. You can revise the approach and practice by looking at past papers, which I've already sent to you. Candidates should spend around 15 to 20 minutes studying the paper, reading it carefully, understanding what you can, and then planning your answers before you start writing. Now, this is really easy, guys, because it even tells you what to write about. So this should be very, very straightforward. So this is what we do in the exam. 10 easy steps. First step is read the prose question, okay? You should only do the poetry question if there's nothing you can say and you just cannot access it and you can't understand it. In my experience, the poetry is normally more difficult to engage with than the prose, so stick to the prose. Make sure you underline any contextual information. Sometimes that can really help you understand it. So last one we looked at, there was about a lady having a dream and waking up from a recurring dream. And so that you need to know, otherwise you might not understand the story at all. Underline anything that's important and also underline keywords in the question, as we always do. Nothing surprising there. Read the extract carefully, and don't worry if there's a bit that you don't quite fully understand. Just concentrate on the parts that you do. Nothing wrong with that at all. And then look at the 3 bullet point prompts, all right? These are super easy because these are what your points are going to be about. So it basically writes the essay for you. So what is it asking you to do? Well, it's asking you to pick out some relevant quotes, and it's asking you to analyze those quotes, just like we've done for the last 2 years in English. Nothing new. One of the key things that people don't do is that they don't answer the question. Now, I'm pleased to see from looking at your practices that you did that you are good at answering the question, okay? Because you underline keywords in the question, it's very, very easy to look at the key feature or the key element, the effect that they're asking you to talk about. So the question will normally ask you how a certain impact is created or a certain effect is created by the author. Could be something like tension, particular emotion, like, anticipation or fear. Character's experience, how does it relate the character's experience of this event, or a particular idea. Okay, so how does the idea of unfairness come into this particular text? It's therefore helpful to make a note of this next to each bullet point. So as you've got your 3 prompts, next to each one, I would write the thing that you're being asked to write about. So, for example, tension. Just write tension next to each prompt. That will remind you, oh yeah, I've got to talk about this prompt in relation to tension, or in relation to pity, or in relation to excitement, or whatever it may be. That will help you not to lose sight of the question, which is very easy to do if you're not careful. So do that. Find at least 3 pieces of evidence per paragraph. I know you've got a time restraint here, but I think 3 is totally reasonable and totally doable. And remember your rules for picking quotations. Does it prove your point? Is it of a sensible length? Does it contain things that you are comfortable writing about and analysing? Because that's what we do in P paragraphs, isn't it? Write a short introduction which will help you focus on the question. You can answer it generally and discuss the text as a whole. So what does the text do? How does it create tension, for example, generally? How does this create a sense of excitement, generally? So you can say what it's about and how it does it. So 3 or 4 sentences is sufficient for a short introduction. Then you need to provide detailed analysis of your selected evidence. And this is the thing that they really want to see from you. So you remember that you have to talk about the impact that the language creates and be as specific as possible. We don't want any vague comments like makes the reader want to read on, makes it exciting. How? Okay. If something is scary, what's scary about it? What's unnatural about it? What's unusual about it? If if you can see clear anticipation and excitement, what is it in the description that conveys that? Is it the sentence length? Is it the vocabulary? Is it a technique that they're using? Be specific. Things you need to consider. What techniques or keywords are being used in that evidence that you can talk about? What can you infer? What does it tell you, right? Reading between the lines, what does this quote mean in your own words? Are any keywords significant? What impact would this have on the reader? And then finally, what do you think it is that the author is trying to communicate? What they're trying to say? And you need to consider the author's intention, the author's purpose, and also the effect on the reader in all P paragraphs. Write your full paragraphs out. Complete your response in the time. Now, on average, you've got between 15 to 20 minutes. If you've got extra time, you've got about 20 minutes per paragraph for each of the 3 paragraphs. So it's not a lot of time, but it's sufficient time to write a response. You need to keep an eye on the clock and manage your time. If you're a little behind, maybe drop one of the quotes out, or maybe don't do quite as much analysis as you were going to do, and just so you can keep on top of that. Maybe leave a few lines, start a next paragraph, and then you can come back to it later, or put a little star and add on more analysis if you have time at the end. But you do have to keep an eye on that time. What we don't want is to hand in an incomplete essay response, because that will damage your final grade. Make sure you use up all your extra time. Those students that have got extra time, you should use every single second of that, making sure that you've edited your work and that you're happy with what you've produced in the time that you've had. And if you've got time, you can include a brief conclusion, aim to do so, but it's also important to edit your work. So use the final few minutes just to make sure that you're happy and everything's finished with your exam response before you submit it. There's the mark scheme there for you, okay? And remember, we're only looking for around about a D grade with this, all right? If you, in order to get your C grade pass that we're aiming for, which is around about a band 5. So if you show some understanding of the text, if you make some reference to the language and what the author's doing with that, and use some relevant quotes, you're going to get the relevant grade that you require for this exam. So that should be encouraging if you look at it like that, all right? Because you can do that easy. How to revise? Just make sure you know your techniques, okay? If you're a little bit squiffy with those, you can revise those, and obviously have a look at the past papers that I've sent you. That's everything from me. That's all you need to know. All the best. Focus throughout. Do your absolute best. And make sure you provide a full, complete response. Okay, everyone? Good luck, and I will catch you soon. Bye-bye.